Okay. So first, I'm a little bit insulted it's GameFi 2.0. I thought we were on 3.0 at least. And Square's been talking about Web 5, so I don't know. But I think the real purpose here is to talk more about the game than the fi. That's going to be the theme of this conversation. It's interesting that the entire crypto industry, or at least most of the biggest players, kind of started in gaming before they started in crypto, or even finance for that matter. For example, Jesse Powell of Kraken, I don't know if you guys know this, but kind of made his first money by creating a World of Warcraft kind of item swapping exchange. And there he saw that there was some sort of real value in virtual currencies and, even more importantly, virtual items. We've seen the same exact mechanic other places. Brock Pierce, infamous character himself, made a lot of money by doing the same thing, selling digital gold mined in an industrialized fashion in World of Warcraft online, and it turned out there was real money there too, real value, I should say. But we've seen over the last couple of years that there are umpteen ways that people are trying to shoehorn crypto into gaming. And some of them have worked really, really well. Some haven't. So here today are three of the world experts who are trying to solve these actual problems. How do we make gaming actually fun? How do we truly incorporate Web3 to make it a value add as opposed to something that's being just shoehorned in just because? And how can we actually go and make this a much more expansive and valuable ecosystem overall? Because gaming undoubtedly is the pathway to mainstream for this industry. So I'm going to let every panelist introduce themselves. Abraham, let's start with you.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Abraham Choi. I am the Director of Business Development and Investments over at GameSwift. GameSwift is a gaming publisher, gaming chain, game developer, and game launcher. Think about Steam for Web3. And by the way, we launched today, by the way. We launched 6 hours ago.
Congratulations.
Woo!
Good timing.
Yep.
Magnus.
Hey everybody, I'm Magnus Ironroot. I'm the Solidity Director at DeFi Kingdoms. If you're not familiar with DeFi Kingdoms, it's a tokenized fantasy RPG game. We currently have our own subnet called DFK Chain as part of the Avalanche ecosystem, and we're also recently relaunched our Serendel realm on Clayton.
So 2 different networks. We're going to get into that. Rebecca.
Amazing. Hi, guys. I'm Rebecca Liao. I'm co-founder and CEO at SAGA. We are a protocol for the automated deployment of dedicated chains, and we are focused on gaming and entertainment.
And I think you guys all failed to mention, you're all gamers.
We are.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really important. Because we've certainly seen that some of the early Web3 games made some money, made a lot of noise. We've seen a lot of promises, but they weren't always necessarily fun. So Abraham, let's start with you. You are, at this point, you mentioned yourself as a game developer, a game launcher first,
yes,
before even saying that you're in crypto,
yes,
which you've been
correct,
for 10 plus years. Tell us why you think that the focus needs to be more on making the gaming experience better than simply retrofitting tokenomics into something.
I mean, having a paywall, right? Like, I don't want to mention Axie Infinity, but I have to mention them. Like, when I first started playing Axie Infinity, my friends were like, come join. But when I first joined, they were like, you have to buy NFT, right? But what about the people in countries that they cannot afford it, like lower monetary income or monetary power? Like, how are they going to play that game? I believe that true gaming experiences, true game companies should be making games that's available for all. Even I don't agree with even the console wars, right? Sony versus Microsoft. I don't think that should be happening. I think everything should be, interconnected.
Okay, because you think it makes things more fun. I mean, the story of DeFi Kingdoms actually is quite interesting. Can you give us the very short synopsis version of it? Because you actually started as a DEX, not a game.
Yeah, sure. So we launched as a DEX on Harmony initially with the goal of kind of making DeFi more accessible. And so we put nice music, nice pixel art, kind of map you can navigate around on, and then renamed a few things like LP. We named it as Seeds, and then staking, we named it as Gardens. So it makes it very easy for new users to kind of get in and understand those lower level DeFi concepts. And then we started layering on kind of gaming infrastructure with our hero NFTs and layer pet NFTs.
So you kind of pivoted into a game. You went from being a DEX with some terminology that made it a little bit more easy to understand what staking is, for example. And suddenly you sell some NFTs, and now people look at you as a game. Has this turned into a game already? What type of audience do you have today?
Yeah, that's a great segue. So we've got a very good core of dedicated users who are just doing tons of volume on our Avalanche subnet right now, as well as on Clayton. We're definitely looking to turn this from more of like a gamified DEX into a game that's actually fun. At some point this year, we're going to launch PvP, which it's going to be more like a 3v3 battle arena kind of concept, and then that will also go into PvE and the traditional things like that. We'd also like to integrate esports as well to really capture the average gamer as well as the crypto native.
Well, so you mentioned that you're on these two networks today, and you started actually on a different one. You also said there's a bunch of volume on these chains. Why? What is being posted, so to speak, on these blockchains? What type of transactions are better on-chain than off-chain? Because, of course, traditional games, we call them Web 2 games, call them console games, everything happens very much off-chain.
Yeah, sure. One of the big drivers is of course, our Uniswap V2-based decentralized exchange, just typical AMM. And then layered on top of that, people are questing their hero NFTs. And so basically they can start those quests and then wait a period of time and then complete those and earn rewards for that. The heroes get XP. That they can level up certain skills.
Is that XP then posted on chain? Like, for example, is there some sort of record of this that could be seen through a block explorer?
Yeah, absolutely. The hero can level up through what we call the meditation process. Once they get to, they kind of fill up that XP bar for that level. It's all posted on chain, and then we've had some really cool community developers come in and build either like mini games or different tooling around that. So it's been a big boon to us to have the metadata kind of change and be updated live on chain, and people can look at the history and also kind of like get some reward back for that time they spend in game in terms of like leveling up the NFT and making it more valuable over time to another player potentially.
Do you expect that there's going to be developers building on top of your kind of open source gaming structure? Like, do you think that there's going to be developers in this room, conceivably, who are going to actually build on top of DeFi Kingdoms in some way?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are countless community tools out there right now that are either doing analytics or building mini games. We actually have a Kingdom Builders program where you can come in and we'll give you support, whether that's through like our token programs or even just some technical knowledge as well. So yeah, we love to see people build on our chain and using our NFTs, and we would also love to see like some metaverse or like Ready Player One type atmospheres in the future.
Well, that sounds a heck of a lot more fun than playing FIFA, for example, or Madden 23. SAGA has about, 300 or 400 different potential programs or applications, I should say, making use of your platform that are set to be launched by Q4 of this year. Is that correct?
Yes. So we currently have around 130. We project about 300 by the end of this year.
Now, here's the question. How many of those are games?
80% of those are games.
What?
Yeah.
Why so many?
Well, so what is SAGA? I described it earlier as a protocol for the automated deployment of dedicated chains. We think of the dedicated chain as a combination of AWS and NVIDIA in Web3. So not only is it your own space in which to build in that you can control as a game developer, but it is also the highest performance environment possible for your particular application. Now, which kinds of applications badly need this kind of infrastructure? It is gaming and entertainment, because it is all about the user experience. You're not looking for that financial return. You're looking to have a fun time. You're looking to connect with a community. I mean, why is it that somebody like Jesse or somebody like Vitalik, for instance, or Brock, these are all brilliant men, and they could do anything with their time, and they decide to devote it to solving problems in World of Warcraft? It's not just because it's a great game to play with really great game design. It's because there is a community around it. They feel connections to the gamers around them, whether they know them in real life or not. These are your friends. And so we have found the same dynamics in the wonderful SAGA ecosystem, which GameSwift is very, very much a part of. And we hope to grow that feeling, that community, and eventually bring it to the rest of Web3 gaming, not just within SAGA.
So one of the problems we were talking about backstage is that there does seem to be still a religious war between games that are deployed on Polygon, for example, and games on Solana. Does that make sense? Because I'll tell you what, it's not very fun if I can't play with my friend because he's got an Xbox and I've got a PlayStation.
Yeah, so I mean, that's what GameSwift is trying to solve, right? Using XLR to bridge into every single chain out there. We want to bridge into every single one, large or small. We want to talk with Sui, Cosmos, Near. We want to be everywhere, right? We're talking to BNB. We want to be everywhere on every chain. We want to offer gamers the ability to play on anywhere. That's what a true game launcher, game publisher should be.
And you
right?
guys are game developers. I mean, can you talk a little bit about the
Yeah,
background
we're
of
also
some of your devs?
we are also a game developer. We just acquired a company called Star Heroes recently last year. They're ex CD Projekt Red, ex 11-bit studio, so they made The Witcher 3, Cyberpunk 2077, This War of Mine, Frostpunk. They're based in Poland. Very strong dev team.
I mean, if I'm developers who have built Witcher, I probably know how to build a good game.
Of course, yeah.
How are they using their backgrounds to influence making great Web3 games?
So what we saw is the current state of Web3 is just tokenomics first, engagement, and good games second. We think it's wrong. We think good games first, tokenomics, NFTs should be secondary. And we shouldn't be even calling them NFTs. We should be calling them game skins. Why change the game, right? We just don't see why we're changing the game.
Well, it does depend, I'd argue, on terms of what to call things. There's different audiences for different types of things. But I mean, like DeFi Kingdom, of course, started as a DEX. I'd imagine many of you have about 6,000 really rabid fans for now, and that's growing. But I presume most of those are pretty sophisticated consumers. However, at the same time, you mentioned that more and more people just want to play the game that know nothing about crypto. How are you solving that problem today?
Yeah, so our kind of next steps are to start onboarding the traditional gamer rather than just the crypto native. We do love our crypto natives, but in order to really expand in the space like we want to, we need to make that easy to onboard new users, and we're looking at a bunch of different solutions for that. Account abstraction is huge, and like leveraging social logins, so you could use kind of your traditional Web 2 logins and be able to create a wallet. You don't even know it's a wallet. You just know it's holding maybe your hero NFTs or your in-game tokens you earn, and then be able to play the game without even really caring about the underlying architecture.
But there is underlying architecture, and there is Web3 components to it, and there are financial components too. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
And so, I mean, you mentioned that you believe you have a certain philosophy when it comes to why there should be this financial piping within games. Can you kind of explain that to the audience a little bit?
Yeah, so at the core of DeFi Kingdoms is the tokenization, and for example, owning your hero NFT, owning your pets, makes it very easy to kind of have that history over time, and it becomes like almost like a physical item that you grow attached to and can kind of care about that history with, and also I guess establishing the economy really protects the user if they basically can, using the decentralized nature of the blockchain, be able to trade and have an escrow service without really needing to trust a third party and potentially get scammed. So we're big on using blockchain technology to make the game more fun and really protect the player and unlock new experiences with.
To protect the players. I think that is a very compelling argument that even the SEC hopefully doesn't have a problem with. So I want to ask, what do you see, Rebecca, as some of the flaws in the initial, let's call it the 1.0 Web3 games? What have you seen as issues? Do you think tokenomics are a problem? What are the reasons why not all of them have taken off just yet?
Well, I would say that, so first and foremost, the reason why a lot of gamers saw an opportunity in Web3 is the mutual emphasis on community and the slight hint of rebellion as well. And finding your own ecosystem in which to flourish. And so that's why gaming first came into this space. I think the profit opportunity at the time, this is just the timing in the market, was just too good to pass up. And so while it is a bull market, why not introduce a token, have that be a reward in your game? And that's essentially your game design, is that you play the game and then you get rewarded with a token. That, I think, is going to see new iterations, given that we're in a bear market right now. But that general sort of basic game design has not survived the bear market. And I think that's been for the better. So now you hear any sort of GameFi panel that you attend, you hear a lot of emphasis on making the game fun. And I do think that is the next iteration. The first iteration, we had games that really, really emphasized that token. And honestly, the in-game assets as well. NFTs would count as a part of this. I think traditional gamers hate NFTs as much as they hate tokens. But this time around, we're looking at games that have true entertaining game design. And honestly, game designs that take advantage of the decentralized nature of Web3. I mean, why is it that, again, going back to your original premise for this panel, why would it be the case that somebody like Jesse or Vitalik, why would they contribute time to this game? Because they feel passionate about it. And the premise at Saga is ultimately, yes, there will be multitude of game models, but why Web3 for gaming? It really is about that decentralized generation of content. Once you put the game out there, if you do have a fandom, like DeFi Kingdoms, then creators will feel more passionate about your game than the original creators. They will want to contribute.
And this is a different type of creator. Let's be honest here. We're not talking about just YouTubers who are going online talking about a game. We're talking about people actually building things that might be deployable in the game, for example.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And honestly, I mean, one of the reasons why this space has really taken up generative AI so quickly is, okay, say you love a particular character in a game. Now you're starting to fantasize about a certain storyline for that character. That's just your creation. Maybe you're not a professional artist, but you can go to generative AI and start to form that storyline. It becomes part of that multiverse. And honestly, in Web3, you have the freedom to do that. You're not going to be screaming at the door of Microsoft or Riot or Epic and begging them to allow your storyline into this game universe. You can just do it yourself as a good contributing member of this community.
I mean, that changes everything, right?
Yes.
We've seen that Red Hat, for example, and the open source Linux community has made a much better, more bulletproof operating system, for example. I'm not saying it's flawless, but certainly it's improving because of crowdsourcing. Perhaps the same could be true of gaming.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely right. I think the game experiences will become much richer. I think it'll change the ways in which ultimately people interact digitally. Remember that there are a lot of Web 2 technologies that we all know and love and use every day now that started off as gaming technologies. Gaming is one of the most demanding tech stacks out there. You make it work for gaming, you make it work for every other tech industry.
Well, Magnus, I want to change topics a little bit and kind of put you on the spot. I've heard that you have had a few scaling issues because you see your game's getting a little bit too popular.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us about some of the problems, I'm serious, some of the problems that actually exist with having a game on Web3, at least today? Because it turns out you might actually have some solution providers in this very room.
Yeah. But basically, we started out putting our entire questing system on chain. That's kind of like our highest volume transactions, I would say, but also all the level ups and things like that. And anytime you mutate the hero, it's going to be on chain.
Slow down just a bit, but yep, keep going.
Yeah. And essentially, we're limited by the EVM and what solutions are out there. And we have an Avalanche subnet, which we're able to basically just like do crazy volume for very cheap, and our users love that. But one of the problems is data storage. And as we kind of look to that next level, we may be looking at different VMs. Maybe we write a custom VM to support the scalability we need. I'm also a big fan of ZK technology. I think that's really the future. We're currently in Solidity, the EVM space, but there's potential to maybe do something a little more custom while kind of carrying over that history of the hero NFTs and pet NFTs and things like that in game. But yeah, basically, I think there are a lot of great, very bright minds working on scaling solutions right now. I'm just excited for the future, and we may have a part in building some of that as well.
Yeah, well, it does sound like it's a sincere problem. I mean, if it actually impacts the way your game performs, if it impacts the actual fun that your users are going to have, I mean, they can go elsewhere with their time, right? Abraham, you're also an investor, so I want to kind of change topics once again. With GameFi 2.0 or 3.0, where is value going to accrue? That is to say, is it going to be with NFTs that are the gatekeeping NFTs? Is it going to be in the underlying protocols that I guess transactions are going to be on top of? How do you see this?
I think it's going to be like L2, L3s. They're going to win. Also, like now everyone's doing game identity, right? GameSwift also has its own identity, like GameSwift ID.
This is kind of like a
like
login,
like Steam ID. Like I think everyone's making that now. Like it's the popular thing that's happening in the gaming space, right? Making a wallet, making them an ID. We have that as well, obviously. But the thing is, we're going to approach Web 2 and Web 3. So you can log in with Google, Gmail, similar to DeFi Kingdoms. You will be offering them Web 2 and Web 3 solutions to help adoption really take place.
Okay. Well, I'm very excited to see what happens in 2023. And if 80% of things building on your platform are games, it sounds to me like we're actually going to see more transactions from gaming than from any other category in the industry, including DeFi.
Yes, that's absolutely right. I mean, so it was because of Pappy's circumstance that we chose gaming and entertainment as our go-to-market. But the reason why gaming is so well suited for this next generation of blockchain technology is it is a very high volume of transactions, but the transactions are meant to be lower in value. Whereas DeFi is the opposite. DeFi is a relatively low volume of transactions, but the transactions themselves are going to be relatively high in value. And so when you have the DeFi use case, you don't mind congestion as much. Yes, you want fast finality, but you don't mind the slowness of the system as much, and you also don't mind the gas fees as much because again, your transaction value is relatively high. When it comes to gaming, it's speed of transaction is everything, and most gamers honestly are used to not paying for anything anymore, and so the gas fees at the very least have to be predictable and flexible. So our system is really well suited for that. Scaling is something that we're attacking very earnestly. So one of the ways that SAGA is expanding the idea of the app chain is, I think most people think of app chain, sidechain, rollup, et cetera, as one application, one rollup, one application, one app chain. How it works on SAGA is one application will have multiple app chains. And so you start to think of the app chain not so much as a chain that has the potential to be Ethereum someday, but you think of the chain as an instance on AWS. It is meant to be elastically scaled to the needs of the application.
And in this case, I'm hoping it simply makes games more fun to play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, good. Well, thanks, panelists. It's been fantastic talking with all of you. Where can you all be reached? Where are you going to be available for questions later on? Back there?
I'll be here.
Just sitting on the stage? Sounds good.
And also, we're throwing like a GameFi event, Super Gamers, working with Super Oracles. We're sponsoring that event as well. So anyone who's a game developer, game publisher, NFT marketplace, love to meet you guys.
Excellent. Well, thanks, everybody. That's us.
Thanks so much, guys.